you're gonna see a lot of disturbingly white faces. It was the...
Is that fucking Dream? All right, chat. This is completely stupid historical trends that got people killed by chat history. All right, lock in, guys. Lock in, lock in, lock in, lock in, lock in.
Stupid deadly trends in history. So social trends are a thing. Whether it's collecting the latest useless collectible or partaking in the how many dehydrated baby carrots can you shove into your butthole challenge.
Dude, I've done that one like 2 weeks ago. Why did bro have to call me out? Nah, to be honest, the last stupidest trend that I remember that a lot of people did, and it was like all over the news, was probably the Tide Pod challenge. Dude, people actually thought that that was like candy. And I've saw like actual live streamers also do like the Tide Pod challenge. Before the Tide Pod challenge that I saw a lot of people did was the cinnamon challenge. I remember like way back when I saw Onision do the cinnamon challenge, bro. Dude, chat, do you guys remember Onision? Hold up. Onision cinnamon challenge.
It just keeps going.
God. Dude, I don't think I'd be able to do the cinnamon challenge, bro. I don't think I'd be able to do that.
There's no avenue that humanity won't venture in order to fulfill our lives with something to ooh and ah at. And it's been that way since the dawn of man. Take, for instance, flagpole sitting. It's exactly as boring as it sounds, but for the dopamine-deprived people of yore, this was the bee's knees. The practice of posteriors perpetually planted on pillars and poles was prevalent as far back as the 5th century. Back then, a bunch of Christian dudes called stylites would make it their mission to live atop tall pillars, with the term stylites deriving from the Greek stylos, quite literally meaning pillar or column. Now, this wasn't for social entertainment, but rather for the salvation of their soul. Perhaps history's...
What? So they just climbed poles for no reason just because it was gonna save them?
most well-known stylite was Simeon the Stylite. He believed that by living all uncomfy and uncozy atop his tall little pillar palace in Syria, with minimal sustenance and constant exposure to the elements, he would essentially cast away his mortal self. All that remains would be his immortal soul, ready for a first-class ticket to the heavens beyond. Because I guess God loves watching his creations mercilessly punish themselves for good boy.
I mean, it kind of means you're just closer to God in the end, right? Instead of the people that are in the ground. One step closer to the man, right?
Points. According to some historical sources, Simeon remained perched on his pillar for as long as 42 years until his death.
How was bro able to sustain there? What did he do? Dude, I would just probably lose my mind if I was just sitting there for 42 years. At max, I'd probably just sit there for like maybe like a day if I had Wi-Fi on my phone. And I'm like, all right, I'm coming down. Where the heck's the ladder? I would not be able to do it for 42 years, bro. Your whole life is just being wept away like that.
Commitment to the bit. Fast forward tens of billions of seconds into the future, and the practice of pole sitting made a comeback in the 1920s and 30s in the United States. Only this time, it was to draw a crowd. Like any trend, it all began with one person. This person, semi-professional stuntman Alvin Kelly. Reportedly the result of a friendly dare, Kelly's first publicized climb was in 1924, where he sat for several hours outside a department store in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Excuse me, what's with that guy up there? Buy a coat, buy some slacks, don't forget to buy a hat. He's no one. Welcome to the story, enjoy yourself. Hey, come on, get down from there. No, I'm not gonna ask again. Ooh, what are you gonna do? Come up here and make me? Yeah, that's what I thought. Hey, guess what? What?
Dude! The disrespect on that would go crazy. Man, I wish I had the ability to climb. I would have done the exact same thing, just sat there without doing a single thing. But either way, though, you're in the 1920s. What do you gotta do up there? And what if you had to go? You just do it? Pull your pants down? Hope to God you don't fall?
Kelly's successful marketing campaign actually bloomed into a career. He would use his questionable talent to promote things like movie premieres or sporting events, but eventually became the main spectacle himself, touring 28 cities across the country where people actually bought tickets to watch dude sit atop a pole for hours on end. Do a flip. His personal best was a cheek-numbing 49 days in Atlantic City, New Jersey. All of this fame and attention paved the way for others to take up the trend, from
But like, how was he able to eat? How was he able to get a drink? How was he able to use the bathroom? Did he take breaks or he just always sat there?
amateur backyard enthusiasts like Little Lenny here to full-time professional pole sitters like your mom. But of course, nothing lasts forever. The fad began dying out when several people started to die off thanks to that great big depression that happened in the 1930s. It's hard to laugh at someone struggling and starving on a pole 200 feet in the air when you're struggling and starving at ground level. By its very nature, the stunt of pole sitting was extremely dangerous. You had to balance yourself properly through sleep deprivation, harsh weather, and lack of nutrition. One slip or overcorrection was enough to convert all of your potential energy into kinetic energy as you gave onlookers a direct demonstration of gravitational acceleration. Well, there he goes.
Oh, bye.
There was at least one verifiable death directly related to the act. Granted, this was decades later in the 1970s. The unlucky fella who took the fall was 72-year-old professional poler Richard Blandy. Dear old Dick spent a record-breaking 125 days atop a pole in Stockholm, Sweden just 9 years prior, surviving mostly on whiskey and 3 packs of cigarettes a day, or as I like to call it, the stepdad special.
Dude, bro was just drunk and intoxicated the whole entire time. I feel like at that point, he wasn't even able to understand what the heck was even happening. And how was he able to balance himself so well like that?
Then things hit a wall for Richard, or in this case, the ground. In 1974, while finishing up a 4-day promotional sitting at Dixie Square Mall in Harvey, Illinois, a trailer accidentally reversed into his tower, causing it to collapse and Richard to plummet to his death.
And it wasn't even his fault. It just happened by accident.
Remember, the higher...
Now, honestly, that was the thing about it. It might have been on purpose. Probably some dude got really mad at this guy because he wasn't able to go ahead and perform the exact same stunt as him. Got really mad, backed up, and caused him to fall. Wow.
The heights you reach, the longer the fall from the top.
Reddit Cruise?
Despite the fancy-sounding name, you're probably familiar with this one. Venetian ceruse was a specific type of cosmetic concoction used throughout the 16th century in Europe.
Wait, is this the actual makeup that made your skin extra white, but it was poisoned by lead? I think I know this one.
The main purpose of this product was to lighten the complexion of many a fine fella or fellette. It also served to cover up blemishes and give a refined, flawless look.
Yep.
Since most of my guys are drawn as white as a cheese and mayonnaise sandwich, we need to travel back in time. Believe it or not, the desire to appear pale as paste actually stretches as far back as 2000 BC with the ancient Egyptians. Well, the rich ones anyway. You see, getting all tanned and toned under the hot sun all day was a sign that you were a filthy, hard-working poor. Not wanting to look like they partook in any labor, Egyptian nobles slapped lead-based powder all over their faces to get that DoorDash enthusiast look. You know, the look of royalty. The desire for a paler complexion traveled across the Mediterranean into ancient Greek territory where, again, upper-class folks took it upon themselves to whiten their skin and cover up any skin imperfections. The trend continued on to influence ancient Rome and even ancient China, all of which stuck to the lead-based recipe. Jump into the futuristic years of the 16th century, and the beauty standard still remained, and that's about the time that Venetian ceruse entered the fray.
Dude, that looks so disgusting, though. If I was in this age, I would not want to put this in my skin. Dude, if I want to get the most clearest white skin, you know what I would do? Not go outside. I'd probably just never go outside, probably wear an umbrella everywhere. I'm pretty sure they had umbrellas back then. What happened if they rain? Dude, easy. I don't need to put lead poisoning on my face just so I can look prettier.
Perhaps one of the most notable historical figures that dabbled in the dust was Queen Elizabeth I of England. The exact cause of her death is debated, but historians speculate her kicking of the royal bucket to have been a severe blood infection brought on by heavy use of her lead-based Venetian ceruse makeup. She not only used the powder to minimize any melanistic manifestations, but to cover up severe scarring from her smallpox. It also was just the fashion at the time. If you take a look at a lot of Renaissance paintings from the era, you're gonna see a lot of disturbingly white faces. It was the
Is that fucking Dream?
epitome of beauty. I mean, nowadays some people obsess
Oh my god, this woman had a Bitcoin symbol on her neck. That's how you know she was rich.
over looking like dumbass balloon animals. So
Ew!
it's not all that outlandish. The most well-documented death directly from Venetian Cerusius was debatably beautiful babe Countess Maria Coventry.
Dude, she's extremely pale too. Oh my god. Dude, that's whiter than snow.
Her heavy use of the stuff caused her own skin to crack and peel, forming painful open sores that she just covered up with more makeup. She bit the dust in 1760 at the age of just 27. So what exactly was it made of and why was it so toxic? Well, first of all, it's lead. Lead's not good for you, especially not being plastered onto your skin for hours or days on end. But lead isn't even white, I hear you screaming to your screen. But white lead is. This is white lead. See how white it is? Pretty freaking white. This is hydroceracite, a lead salt compound also called lead carbonate hydroxide. It's naturally occurring, usually found alongside the pure lead deposits, so some Venetian fellas in Venice decided to mine the stuff, mash it up, and mix it with water and vinegar to create a paste. It was found to have incredible drying properties, so it was actually first used in the 16th century as a medical product, being applied to icky, sticky, oozing open sores and wounds to suck up the juices. But then I guess someone got a little experimental and realized it could be a great cosmetic as well.
Would you frig me? I'd frig me.
The problem though,
Yeah, I would, not gonna lie. I mean, you kind of got like the exact same face culture that I like. Would that be bad?
with long-term lead exposure is that it sort of leaches through the skin and into your blood, causing lead poisoning, and any condition with the word poisoning in it naturally doesn't have pretty side effects. According to the World Health Organization, severe lead poisoning can cause a wide variety of symptoms, none of them pleasant. You have your basic nausea and vomiting, sure, but you also have crippling headaches, memory loss, the big sad, and even high blood pressure in the short term. As for the long term, we're talking reproductive issues and even permanent brain and nervous system damage. The neurological effects often led to increased aggression, hyperactivity, and the lowering of one's IQ. So in scientific conclusion, heavy lead makeup was creating a bunch of irritated, angry, infertile morons. Just like those dang insert political party here. Am I right?
Oh my god. Dance marathons? Wouldn't that be like a trend where people just nonstop dance for no reason just because they wanted to have fun? Or am I thinking of something else?
Humans have been nodding their noggins and tapping their toes ever since first discovering a beat.
Hey, get it!
Rocking out usually lasts for several songs, which is normal, but how would you feel about dancing for days on end? Well, it happened. Dance marathons were all the rage back in the 19...
Is that fucking Jim Carrey? Dude, this guy literally looks like freaking Jim Carrey. Oh my god.
1920s in the United States, but Americans actually have the British to thank for that. In February of 1923, professional dance couple Ollie and Edgar took it upon themselves to cut a British rug for 7 hours straight.
God.
This was something that, historically speaking, had never really been done before, and it caught some national attention. But in true American fashion, the British were about to be one-upped. Alma Cummings, a New York dance instructor who became fascinated with the idea of testing human limits while revolutionizing human expression, set a blistering 27-hour dance record just 12 days after the Brits tried to be good at something. I mean, look at that. She put holes in her soles, for God's sake.
Dude, I cannot imagine dancing for that long. Dude, at max, I probably just dance for like 2 hours, but doing the exact same moves over and over and over again will go insane. Wait, what type of music would you be listening to? Are you just putting the exact same song on repeat, or are you just mixing it up? I need to know, like, how were people able to, like, last this long? Why would you put yourself in this torturous manner?
Something was happening within the United States in the 1920s. If you recall, the flagpole sitting craze was also hitting its stride at this point in time. Americans became obsessed with record-breaking feats of human physical endurance. So publicity stunts became the norm as normal humans tried pulling off superhuman endeavors. I'm gonna lift this car. So after
Jeez! Oh my god. I don't even think people nowadays are able to even do that, bro. I don't think they'd be able to do that.
move, the idea of endurance dancing began to take off. Within the next few weeks, her record had been broken 9 times across the country, so everyone was getting into the swing of things. It became a public spectacle, with promoters hosting dancing marathons as a form of entertainment. Pay a 25-cent fee, and you could just watch people shimmy 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 to the break of dawn. Several dawns, actually. You see, it didn't take long for the craze to drop a ranked mode. Competitive dancing marathons saw couples boogieing for days on end to get a chance at solid cash prizes. Those prizes became even more valuable once the world entered the Great Depression in the 1930s. In a collapsed economy, these marathons were seen not only as a form of entertainment for the now destitute masses, but a means of survival. That's because—
Dude, that's insane. Can you just imagine going through this throughout the Great Depression, and the only way for you to get a band was just for you to dance your way through for days on end? Oh my god. Hey, yo, at least you'll be able to, like, you know, lose some weight. But golly, bro. I know there's gonna be some like Mr. Beast fans that are gonna be on there for like at least a month. At least a month. You know, Mr. Beast should do a video like this. How long are you able to last dancing? Last person to quit out gets $100,000. Mr. Beast, pinpoint that right now. Let's go ahead and work on this video. I know some peeps are able to go ahead and get a ban easily.
Participants were properly fed and sheltered in exchange for their performance, all while still having that chance at a grand prize. These prizes could range from a couple hundred to a couple $1,000. Now, considering that the median income in the 1930s was roughly $1,000 a year, this was a big deal. So dancing devolved from entertainment to desperation.
Dude, $2,000 back in the 1920s? That's gotta evolve to like at least $100,000. To this day, to the modern time, it has to equal out. If they're getting $1,000 per year and they're getting $2,000 just for a win, just by dancing however long you last, that's got to be at least $100,000, or at least $200,000, at least.
Competitors were allowed only short breaks in between numbers to catch their breaths, but they were still required to move and groove in some form, be it a tap of the foot or a nod of the head. Couples that stayed still for too long were actually prodded with sticks or splashed with water to get them back on their feet again, lest they be disqualified and thrown to the streets. The most famous dance champions of the age were handsome stud muffin Callum de Villiers and beautiful babe Vani Kuczynski. So take a guess. How long do you think that their record-breaking dance lasted for?
Well, if they're this insane, oh, thank God, we got multiple choice. Okay, if they're this insane and they still look happy as fuck and they're so able to like dance around, I want to go with a solid C. I'm gonna go with solid C.
Time's up. The answer was a heel evaporating
God!
100.
Damn, dude, how are you able to dance for that long? How are you able to dance for that long? Dude, how? I mean, shit, catch you that band, bro. But like, how? Like, do you talk while you're dancing, or are you just like only focusing on dancing? Is that just pure will? Are you just on pure will, bro? Is that what's just happening? And you know what? At that point, you probably might just be farting on each other, to be honest. But god damn, bro. You're just on pure will there. Chat, would you guys think you'd be able to dance for 157 days straight? It would need sleep breaks. I feel like they'll probably max be able to sleep like at least like 4 to 6 hours. I feel that's how long they were able to like just go through. I feel like the only time that they were able to sleep will probably be between 2 a.m. to like 8 a.m. That's solid 6 hours. And then the only reason why I think that is because, you know, club time, you know, a lot of clubs be closing at 2. Especially after COVID. So I'm thinking like maybe until 2 a.m. they'd be dancing, and then like early bright fuck in the morning, as soon as they open up, will probably be like at 8 a.m. And then by that point, that's when they have to wake up. I feel like that's the only time they'd be able to sleep. And then just take short breaks. God damn, bro. What happens if your partner has to go use the bathroom, but you don't? Do you still get a break, or you just have to start dancing just there? You know, start boogieing down. That'd be kind of meta, though. Just taking turns going to use the bathroom. So you can just take a quick little break because your partner's got to go to the bathroom. You know what? I feel like that's what they did. I feel like that's how they were able to win.
57 consecutive days, over 5 months of throwing down on the dance floor. Their prize?
Jesus Christ, 5 months and a half?
$1,000, almost $25,000 in today's money.
That's
no
not that
surprise,
bad.
these endurance events were not without consequence. Like I said, people fully exhausted themselves to the point of collapse. Staying in the contest meant that you had food, water, and shelter for as long as you kept shaking that thing. Unfortunately, this resulted in a few reported deaths across the nation, one of the first being 27-year-old Homer Morehouse. No, not this guy.
Damn.
What, you want to see an actual picture of a dude who danced himself to death?
Yes!
Just an amateur dancer, Homer had reportedly been throwing it back for 87 hours straight, suffering from malnutrition and extreme sleep deprivation. He stumbled to a chair to take a break and fell over dead. News of these deaths caused immediate nationwide banning of dance marathons when they realized that, albeit voluntary human torture, isn't all that humane. But when promoters were raking in tens of thousands of dollars per event...
Is that supposed to be like the fucking Godfather? God damn.
Stacks of cold hard cash outweighed the stacks of cold hard bodies.
Foot binding? What type of trend is
Hold on to your
that?
piggies, because this one's gonna cause some toes to curl. As a warning, there will be some gross feet pics somewhere in this section. Now, if you'll forgive my...
By the way, chat, I'll be selling my own feet pics for 20 bucks. So if you guys got 20 bucks, please let me know. I'll go ahead and send it to you. I'll probably even write your name on it. It is what it sounds like. Is it like that one trend that happened like way back in the day for Chinese people where like the smaller the feet that you had, the more chance of a man to marry you? Is that what it is? Yes. Oh God. Oh, I've seen that. I've seen that on TikTok.
Attempt at Chinese pronunciation, we'll get right into it. The practice of foot binding, or Chansu, dates all the way back to the Imperial China days, with scholars failing to fully agree on any one origin story. Some claim the practice to have existed in the 6th century, but most point towards the 10th century under the Tang Dynasty. It is believed that a concubine of unsurpassed beauty was the first to bind her feet, though of course, not by choice. Lumpy Dumpling Emperor Li Yu commanded the aforementioned concubine Yao Nyang to wrap her feet in white silk to resemble the crescent moon. She then performed a
But like, what's the point though? What's the point of just wrapping your feet like that? Are you telling me that like all these like emperors just wanted to fuck feet? Is that why people are so into feet these days? Because it happened because of this one sick old freak? Not gonna lie though, I feel like most people nowadays with their feet fetish probably just came from Schneider, from the Nickelodeon era. Damn, what a deal. Nimi's charging 200 for hers. God damn. People do weird things because of weird reasons. I can see that.
fancy dance atop a golden lotus statue. The emperor stood in awe at the grace and elegance of the woman's dance, so naturally other women of
That's some good
status
shit
wanted
right
to
here.
imitate it. Women would force their feet into unnatural positions with the goal of creating what were later referred to as lotus feet. You know, like the flower, small, delicate, and beautiful. The teeny tiny tootsies were reportedly highly desirable.
That is not real. That is not real. That is not real, bro. That is not real. Dude. Bro, it looks like a freaking like doll that you made out of Play-Doh and you tried making the feet and it came out like that. Oh god. I know there's some peppers that fucking straight up nutted to these feet.
As Chinese men thought that this shit was undeniably sexy. Now, some historians believe that the real reason was a bit more selfish. See, this is what a real lotus foot looks like under.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. God, dude, that's disgusting. Dude, that's disgusting. That does not even look like a lotus. I don't like it when people Photoshop lotus pod seeds onto them. Who thought that was a good idea? It looks like a horse hoof. No, it really does though. Like, fuck. Those so merged together.
Underneath the shoe. Scrumptious, right?
No.
Now imagine
No.
trying to walk around on those things all day. The reality of it was that walking on permanently disfigured feet meant excruciating pain. This resulted in women walking very daintily and slow, if at all. It has been suggested that the act of binding, while convincing women that it was to attract suitable partners, was actually a form of control, with men limiting the mobility of their wives. This would, in a sense, bind them to their homes just as their feet were bound to their shoes. This forced
Dude, at that point, just chop off your feet if you're not gonna use them. Dude, give me peg legs at that point. Dude, what the heck was the point of me just straight up just binding my own feet if you're not even gonna fuck them?
these women into sedentary, boring lives with nothing more to do than menial labor such as weaving and tapestry to help with the household income. Alright, but just how crunched in were them things, you may be asking yourself? And the answer is pretty friggin' crunched. Ideally, the foot was to
God, dude, that's bad. That's straight up broken. Oh my God, dude, that looks like a pig's feet now. Oh.
be no longer than 4 inches or 10 centimeters in length.
Dude, that may be small, but that's low-key kind of huge though. Like, holy crap, 4 inches?
Ironically, the whole process was no small feat. Over the course of several months or even years, the toes would be repeatedly broken and tightly tucked under the sole with the entire foot folded downward to achieve the desired effect. Unfortunately, it's a sad reality that innumerable Chinese women faced across the centuries. Well, no, actually, it wasn't just grown women, but young girls too. I'm talking as young as just 4 or 5 years old.
Excuse me, what? 4 to 5 years old, girls used to do this. I'm so glad that we don't do this anymore, because what? Excuse me, what?
Gotta fold and mold them feet while they're still growing. You ever go on the Living with the Land ride at Disney's Epcot and see the neat Mickey-shaped pumpkins growing? It's the same principle, but with human feet. The binding of youthful feet was not only practical from a physical standpoint, but a disciplinary one as well. It trained young girls to realize that life is pain, as well as the importance of abiding by societal rules and customs. This practice persisted from the 10th century all the way up to the 19th century. By then, it's estimated that nearly half of all Chinese women had their feet bound to some degree. If it wasn't obvious, all of that cracking and crunching of the feet didn't exactly come with health benefits. The forced deformation commonly resulted in ulcerations, nasty sores resulting from the cracking open of skin, which were very difficult to treat properly. These led to deadly bacterial infections and gangrene, sometimes requiring—
Dude, what the heck is that? Dude, what the heck is actually that? Dude, what even is that? Chat, for $10,000, would you guys suck on these toes? Honestly though, I'd probably put a little bit of cream cheese on it, nibble on it, and then probably just rip it off. Like, just $10,000, Chad. Who's gonna do it?
the full amputation of the affected foot. Refuse to cut off one foot and you can end up 6 underground. Foot binding started to fall out of favor towards the beginning of the 20th century. By this time, mass-produced textiles began taking over, leaving the perpetually working from home women to be out of a job. So they finally put their foot down. After exhaustive women's rights campaigns, the Chinese government took a step in the right direction by formally banning binding in 1949.
1949? Dude, that was almost a century ago. It took them up to like now almost modern time for them to ban foot binding? You're telling me I could probably still get a grandma with foot binding to suck on? Shit. Yo, I have actually, okay, I didn't ask it in my own Discord server, but I always try to set like these random fucking weird situations. And I said a really weird one to like my friends, IRL. I just put it in a group chat on Discord and I said like, all right, y'all, for $10,000, would you let some random motherfucker tap their dick on your tongue? Bro, all of them said I would do it for half at this point. I'm desperate. Oh my god. And you know what I said afterwards? I'm like, well, guys, you guys are in luck. I got $5,000 on me right now. Any takers? Oh my god. Is it clean? Clean what? Clean dick.
Now, when you've got something that's beyond repair, do you ever just make the decision to break it a bit more to give it that sense of finality?
Yes.
Maybe just hucking a busted light bulb into a garbage can to hear a satisfying shatter? I have a deep garbage can. Well, gosh damn it, they did the same thing to full-size locomotives back in the day. Yep, if you had yourself a free afternoon and some spare change, you could waddle your britches on down to an isolated part of the plains to witness yourself a genuine high-speed train crash.
Hey, hell yeah.
Because it looked cool. Come on, I know that when you cruise on down the freeway and notice a wreck on the side of the road, you're gonna be whipping your big dumb head around to see the extent of the damage. We all do it, that's why we have traffic. But that curiosity and wonder is what drew crowds of tens of thousands of spectators throughout the late 1800s and early 1900s. The premise was simple. Beginning in 18...
Wait, is that during, what's that, the Industrial Revolution? Is that the age that's when trains existed? I don't remember when the Industrial Revolution happened. Wasn't that the 1840s? This must be a little bit more ahead. Not the beginning stages of Industrial Revolution. But that's kind of interesting, though. I would love to see two trains crash into each other. Now we kind of just, like, modernize and we kind of just have trucks or, like, what is that? Dirt bike rallies? No, dirt rallies, kind of like that do that. Or, like, massive monster trucks just crushing little tiny cars. But I want to see trains, though. Like, that sounds kind of nice.
1995, railroad organizers figured out a way to profit off of decommissioning their equipment. Train engines deemed obsolete either by being outdated or having otherwise unrepairable mechanical issues were placed on a long stretch of track facing each other. Onboard engineers would then set the locomotives full steam ahead before abandoning ship.
Step on the gas.
What?
Allowing them to
Wait,
become
was that queso? Wait, was that queso?
full steam ahead before abandoning ship.
Step on the gas.
Okay, that's not
Allowing
queso.
them to become a physical demonstration of physics. Spectators happily tossed a few of their hard-earned bucks to witness such a staged catastrophe. They were about as excited as a Second Amendment enthusiast experiencing his first home invasion.
Oh my
The problem,
god.
though, is that public safety measures at the time weren't much more than just standing back a ways while the trains did their thing. Nowadays, it's common for crowds to gather at scheduled demolition sites to watch tall buildings no longer be tall. But even at a bare minimum, safety nets are placed in front of the crowds to catch any rogue debris. Think about it, even a small stone zooming on through at hundreds of miles an hour can mean instant death. Well, that would have been a welcomed consideration in 1896. Just north of Waco, Texas, was the now infamous
Whoa.
Crash at Crush, a staged train wreck that was more than what the crowd had bargained for. The planned crash was to occur at the town of Crush. Crash at Crush. Make sense now? The temporary town was built specifically for the event, with an expected crowd of 20,000 Texans. But thanks to effective advertising, 40,000 showed up, eagerly awaiting to see themselves a tasty train wreck. Now this should have been an omen that things weren't going to go as planned, but double the crowd meant double the doubloons and the pantaloons, so the event stuck to schedule. The two trains were put in place and sent on their way, topping out speeds at 50 miles an hour. The steam engines collided, as expected, but upon impact, the boilers violently exploded. Not as expected.
God.
The explosion launched shrapnel in every direction, which naturally included where the crowd was standing. Well,
Bro, honestly though, I would still probably come to even this day for me to have a chance and opportunity to see two trains crash and collide into each other. I don't even care if there's a safety net on me. Dude, if a freaking shrapnel hit me, shit, let me get that safety insurance. Let me go and potentially sue for almost dying. I need to get that. I need to get that money. Like, what the heck?
my buns and call me a biscuit. I don't think that was supposed to happen.
Oh,
You know what? I think you're right. In addition to dozens of Southern fellas sustaining some bumps and bruises from flying hunks of metal, at least 2 Texans unfortunately yeed their last haw. But surprisingly, the crowd didn't flee. Instead, they ran towards the wreckage to assess the damage and grab themselves a souvenir from the pile of twisted metal. After all, they did pay to see a wreck, so they were going to get their money's worth.
They
Despite
did.
the widespread report of the tragedy, the public didn't seem to care. In fact, these stunts only got more and more popular. Events kept chugging along well into the 1930s when the trend finally crashed and burned.
Wow. Dude, W video though. It got really interesting at the very end. It didn't get like as weird or creepy up like the trends for people just dying. But I really like that last one. And I hope to God they could bring that back eventually. W video. My sub? Nope. I'll give him a little sub though. I got some crazy videos. Most ridiculous riots in history. Truly evil human experience that actually won.
Human experiment.
That actually happened. Ooh, that sounds interesting as fuck. Ooh.